Hi everyone and welcome to this week's Monday Memo. Now, sometimes as finance professionals, we all tend to be pretty busy and it can feel like there's simply not enough hours in the day to get all the work that needs to be done completed. And many years ago I was actually shown a tool by a CFO that I've actually shared so many times over. I can't believe I've actually not shared it yet on the Strength in the Number show in these series of Monday memos. So I'll do my best to share it with you so you can gain some advantage out of it and improve your impact so you can become more influential and involved in solving more meaningful problems for your organizations. And there's a bit of a story behind it because it really goes back to an idea that a very famous public relations expert called Ivy Lee came up with, and a very same famous story that goes with it. Because back in the early 1900s, there was a very famous American industrialist called Charles Schwab, and Ivy Lee approached Charles Schwab at his steelworks office and said, I believe we've an idea that can dramatically improve and increase your business from beyond where it is. So Schwab said to him, we already know what it is we should be doing, but if you can show us a better way of getting it done, we'll listen to you and we'll pay you within reason. So, well, Ivy Lee replied, I want you to get out a sheet of paper. So he paused as Charles Schwab reached into his mahogany desk drawer and pulled out a single sheet of writing paper. And then Ivy Lee continued, what I'd like you now to do, Mr. Schwab, is list out the 6 most important things you have to do tomorrow. That's what Schwab did as he requested, and he added, now, first thing tomorrow morning, I want you to take out that list. You'll have numbered out the priorities. The priority could be A, B, C, D, E, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want you to work on number 1, and don't go to number 2 until you complete number 1. Ivy Lee then suggested, this is my idea that will improve your productivity, and you may try it for 60 days. Then send me a check for whatever you think it's worth. So 60 days later, Ivy Lee received a letter from Schwab stating it had been the best lesson he'd ever learned. Well, that was from a business point of view, and enclosed a check equivalent to $500,000 in today's money. So this tool is very much pulling on the principle of time boxing, and time boxing is the tool that I've been using for these many years, and it's got 4 quadrants formed of 2 columns, this week and next week, and 2 rows, urgent and important. Now, for those of you watching the video, I put a copy of this up, but for those listening on the podcast, I'll do my best to explain it, because we use these sections to provide some order, to help us organize our priorities so our time spent on the activities directed at our most productive or impactful outcomes. So there are those that will move us towards reaching our overarching goals, should we say, our vision. And ultimately, like the very famous industrialist Schwab, we're the best place to understand what to start with. So we begin by writing down what's most urgent and those important things to do this week and next week. And at the start of the week, we should have no more than 5 activities in each quadrant. So each quadrant is half full, should we say. Some of those activities may take longer than others. And given we're dealing with a 2-week period, there'll be some more stuff that'll come in, like fire drills and last minute requests, because let's face it, in finance, some of our work, or a lot of our work, tends to be reacting to business needs week to week. So we might not know everything that's going to come of us at the start, but we've got to be realistic, so we need to allow some room for that. And that means we'll probably have about 20 activities to do in 1 week. I mean, that's quite a lot in a 5-day week. That's essentially without any breaks, knocking out an activity every couple of hours. So how many thousand of activities do you think that is across the year? Yeah, it's only 1,000 activities. It's some good going. Remember, if we keep doing the right and most productive activities, imagine how much better we will be, or impactful or influential we will be the following year after those 1,000 activities accumulate. And for most of us that either have staff or report into line managers, it's a very visual way to have a conversation around our workloads and our progress and challenges. It allows managers and team members to help each other figure out where there's any slack that exists and share a workload amongst the team, or go and try and find extra capacity from negotiating additional budget or resources from elsewhere. Um, some people use a notepad for their time boxes. I prefer, no joke, to use an Excel spreadsheet. Allows me to more easily reorder the activities and check week for week. I've also built in a color scheme, so when I color something green, it means it's completed. Amber is something I'm working on, and red is haven't completed yet, or haven't started yet, or even I've got some challenges with it. It's nice because at a glance you can gain a sense of how your week's progressing, and getting to the end of the week, it's nice to have it all full of green. Now the trick is, as some of you might be thinking, how do I know what's urgent versus important? This sort of takes a bit of getting used to, because urgent activities are those that require immediate attention. So they're crises, pressing problems, firefighting, other deadlines. The pressure typically comes from external to us, so they're linked to the accomplishment usually of someone else's goal. However, to be truly urgent, they have to be aligned with achieving others' goals, with the consequence that you achieve your goals. For example, let's say you have a deadline in 2 days for a report to send to some stakeholders. Then this goes into the urgent category, because it needs to be done this week and needs to be done to help other people meet their goals, external people. On the other hand, important outcomes are those that are driven by us. So we must create some time to focus on the important things before they become urgent. That might be building a relationship with someone, having a coffee with them, meeting stakeholders proactively, planning ahead, catch-up calls, training courses. Most of the time, important is mostly just about getting ahead of the game by doing things a bit earlier. And I found that tracking our productivity in this way is a really great learning tool, because at the end of the week we can ask ourselves about what we've done well and where we could have perhaps done better. And when we come to the end of the week, we have a good sense of what's coming up, so a bit more comfort. We're a bit more relaxed about going into the weekend. It feels a little bit more under control. And believe it or not, the 90% of that sort of subconscious mind that we have is we're already crunching ideas on how to go tackle it the following weeks without even thinking too much about it. Now, some people might think this is just a glorified to-do list, and yes, it does have its roots in to-do lists per se. However, you're being asked to put some necessary order to it in terms of urgent and important. And if it works for you and your productivity comes better, no need to send me a check for $500,000 like Ivy Lee got. However, I would appreciate if you find it works for you, please share the approach with others. That's the whole point in the Strength in the Numbers show, is to share what works well and helps us become more influential in what we do. So look, I'll be really keen to understand what your favorite productivity tool and what works for you. And again, if you really enjoy the episode, please let your friends and colleagues know about it. You can subscribe at all the major platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud and YouTube. And really appreciate you investing your time with us today. So until next time, take care of yourselves, and let's keep on building our strength in the numbers.